And the biggest question I get is how, like, how'd they do that? How'd they pay the rent and get that started? Can you just give us a little color around how you got it going?
Well, so the answer to that question is it depends on what your goals are.
Okay.
So if you are someone who, has a goal of, I would like to be independent and have my own company, then bootstrap or crowdfund,
Okay.
all day long. Don't raise money, because once you take money from an investor, you are no longer independent. Um, even if they don't control anything, it's just you have fiduciary responsibility to them. If your goal is to build a massive company, you got to understand the capital requirements that's going to take. And I think that is, every journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, right? And so, most people are going to do a seed round in the range of several hundred thousand to, maybe $1.5 million to get started.
Mhm.
And in that case, there are a lot of options out there in terms of looking at doing a small raise on something like an angel list, or doing an equity crowd fund. If you do, and this is if you don't have connections, right? And then if you do have connections, if you have mentorship, you could think about asking people for warm introductions to seed funds. There are a lot of great seed funds in Colorado. Rocky Venture Club is funded Sheets and Giggles. They led our last round. I can't recommend them enough. Go to their pitch events, pitch your company. You'll be shocked to see how many people will, want to invest $10,000-$20,000 in your business. And when you put, 10, 20 people of those together, it really adds up quick. And then, Techstars has been super transformative for me and for the company and for my professional acumen and career. And I've done Techstars twice, 2015, 2019, once as an employee, once as a founder. Changed my life both times.
Mm.
And so Techstars, for those that don't know, Techstars is a global accelerator with programs in, I think, 50 or 60 cities now. And they probably have one nearby you, and they have a class every year and 10 companies. And it's a great way to build your connections and your acumen as a startup founder and CEO. In terms of what I did, to cover it briefly,
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was a first-time founder and CEO, starting a pun-based betting company after my last company had just laid me off at 1 p.m. on a Monday. So I think the first person I ever told Cheats and Giggles about, outside of maybe a couple very close friends and family, was a guy named Paul Foley, who's a guy in Denver that a lot of people know.
He's been on the Riderflex podcast. Yep.
And you'll recognize the name. And so I'm having ramen with Paul, and I think it's probably early 2018 or late 2017. And I'm telling him, I'm like, yeah, I got a logo made, I got a website. I'm telling him, and I said, I told him about the betting company, and I said, and it's called Sheets and Giggles. And I think Paul took a bite of his ramen, and then he just kind of looked up at me, and he was like, the fuck are you talking about? That was his exact response. and I think that is I think that's so good. And I think that's exactly the reaction that I anticipated from any investor that I would try to tell about the company. And so
right.
But Paul, to his credit, ended up, he said, well, are you going to do this? I said, yeah. And he said, okay, well then I want to invest. And he was one of our first investors. Nice. Just because he knew me and he trusted me to, work my ass off for it. And so, friends and family seed rounds. So what we did was a friends and family $60,000 angel round, and that money was not needed. Actually, I could have bootstrapped it through the crowd fund. But what I wanted to do was, and this is kind of a weird thing, is I wanted to make myself beholden to people that I love and people that I respect and people that I want to work with long term. So I had attorneys that I've worked with in the past invest. I had my parents invest. I had former colleagues in my last company invest. Paul. And basically what that did is it forced me to say, okay, this is not just something that I'm working on for me, for Colin. This is something that I'm now working on for others who have trusted me and who love me and who, want to see me succeed. And that was really great, because it put this, I think that external pressure is good if it's something that you need, and I need that. And then we ended up doing a crowd fund, because I knew that was from day one what we needed to do to prove that this was a concept that could get traction. And we prepared like crazy, and we ended up doing $284,000 crowdfunded in May 2018.
Really?
Yeah, for bed sheets. Biggest crowdfund ever on Indiegogo for the bed sheets category.
Very nice.
Which is a funny qualifier, right? Biggest ever for bed sheets. But there were two other betting crowdfunds that launched on the same day, and one did $50,000 and the other did $15,000. So we blew them out of the water. So It was a really incredible experience, and proudest achievement of my life is convincing thousands of people to wait 5 months for bed sheets. And I have a very special relationship with my crowdfunders. Anybody that backed us in the crowdfund, they email me personally a lot sometimes, and we had like 2,000 or 3,000 of them, and they'll ask me for favors and other stuff and resume reviews, and like a weird resume review, famous person on Reddit. And
very nice. Well, that's
I don't
nice
know, I
of
just
you.
love my crowdfunders.
That's nice of you. So crowdfund / friends and family early round. Basically, if I'm doing the math there, you had 300 and something thousand to kind of get you started, roughly somewhere in there.
Bingo. And then we started pre-selling, and then we did $500,000 round with the pre-sale numbers.
Okay.
And then we started shipping, did Techstars, and then did 1.35 last summer. And that was a strategic growth round where basically the pitch was, here is our current trajectory. I would like to double it. I would like to raise this money to do that.
The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviews. Our show can be heard just about anywhere these days, but you can visit riderflex.com and click on the podcast page to hear all the previous episodes and learn more about the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Contact us at the email address info@riderflex.com or 888-964-5876. Thanks so much for listening, and if you enjoy our show, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes.